Inner confidence is really what happens when you validate yourself. Being hooked on external validation will never get you to the deepest bedrock from which your full power can be expressed. Hello and welcome to the Unlock Lab. I'm your host, Tosca DiMatteo, and this is episode number 58, How to Tap into Your Inner Confidence. Gosh, it's hard to believe that in 57 episodes, I haven't actually used the word confidence in a title yet, but it is overdue. The truth is that the work that I do around inner critics, around our personal branding, is about tapping into our inner confidence. And today, my goal is to give you actionable tips that you can start right now to help you to remove all the conditioning that you've had that tells you anything other than you are amazing and wonderful and perfect just the way you are. But alas, before I jump into this conversation, which I'm so excited about, let me say hello. If you are new to the podcast, I'm Tosca DiMatteo, and I'm the founder of Tosca Coaching and Consulting. I do work at the intersection of personal growth and professional breakthroughs. So whether I'm on stages, speaking to large audiences, or working one-on-one as a career transformation coach, I help you to reach new growth trajectories for either yourself, your career, or your business. If you want to learn more, please visit CoachTosca.com. That's CoachTosca.com. All right. Oh my gosh. Let me tell you, I spent a lot of time preparing for this conversation. It's obviously a vast topic to talk about inner confidence. And so I wanted to kind of pack a powerful punch, but I know that there's a lot that I can't cover in this short format. There's this concept out there. You may have heard it before said in different ways, but there's this idea that struggle is a given as a human, but it is our own suffering that is within our control. So what this means, for example, is, yeah, it might suck that we didn't get the job that we applied for, but then we beat ourselves up over the fact that we didn't get it. And that is us causing our own suffering. And I think that's what we do to ourselves when we are in a downward spiral on our confidence or just have low confidence in general. I would say that probably 80% of the clients that I work with struggle with confidence. And it's usually a driver for why they reach out for coaching support. Now, at the surface, it may seem that the reason they're doing this is so that they can excel in their career or business. And for sure, they may have gotten feedback from their employer that this is something for them to work on. I often see this, especially with the younger leaders that I work with. But underneath all of that, regardless of if my clients have been told this is something they should work on, or if they've come to that conclusion on their own, I think that the bigger goal in their career is their desire to really believe in oneself. I know personally that so much inner conflict is caused by that constant battle between feeling like, hey, I've got this and I'm good at what I do and I'm smart and I can handle it. And the other parts of us, our inner critics that say, what? You don't know what you're doing. They're not going to believe you. You need more credentials, all that good stuff. And at the core of what I believe about inner confidence is that the biggest obstacle to really unleashing the fullest inner confidence that you have is to address your blocks, is to address your inner critics and your obstacles to knowing the actual truth of who you are. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Let's just back up a little bit and talk about what is confidence. And there's a lot of different definitions. And actually, I'm going to share a definition from someone else. But what I think that confidence really is, it's about honoring that you know the truth about who you are and what you are capable of. That's my personal definition. And I think there are kind of two kinds of ways that you can think about confidence. I think you can think about it in terms of the outward expression or portrayal. And I think you can think about it in terms of your inner experience with confidence. And oftentimes the conflict that I talked about that we have is that the outward expression is not the same as the internal experience of our own feeling confidence. So, what I mean by this is acting a certain way, right? Coming off as confident in all the ways, whether it's how you're speaking, whether it's how you're presenting yourself, maybe it's even your posture. This incongruence often hurts you more than your audience. When you might be acting a certain way, you may be acting confident, but actually you don't feel that way inside. And I think that it hurts you when this dynamic is happening because really feeling your own confidence, knowing it in your bones, believing it, embodying it is empowering and can actually lead you to making more bold, courageous actions. And I think it also lends itself to you doing less apologizing and less overcompensating. You know what I mean by this? Like those people that they're listing off all their credentials and your eyes are glazing over. And to me, that can be a real indication that this person is hiding behind this shield of their credentials versus actually feeling confident deeply in what they bring to the table. So I mentioned that I was going to share somebody else's definition of confidence, and I want to talk to you a little bit about the definition from Jamie Kern Lima, who wrote a book called Worthy. And it's a great book to better understand the difference between confidence and worthiness. In fact, I highly recommend it if you are looking at this part of your life, at this opportunity that you have to boost your confidence and tap into your worthiness. It's a great book for that. To me, it's very much linked with inner critic work, and she did a great job bringing this topic to light. Jamie Kern Lima is the founder of It Cosmetics, which she eventually sold. And her story is rooted in believing in herself and the vision that she had in the face of the beauty industry that had different opinions. She also wrote the book Believe It. That is a book I haven't read yet, but wanted to mention that as well. I'm going to read how she describes the difference between self worth and self confidence because I know that when I've shared this with my clients and friends, that there's something that clicks between the difference between these two things. So let me just share this with you. This is what Jamie says about self worth. Self worth is the internal, deep rooted belief that you are enough and worthy of love and belonging just as you are. On the other hand, self confidence, while also an internal trait, is generally linked to your assessment of how you compare to the outside world. It is the feeling of assuredness, certainty, and competence in one or more specific areas of your life. Self confidence is how you evaluate yourself based on your qualities, skills, and traits. It's also how strongly you believe in your ability to meet life's challenges, your willingness to try and go for it, and to succeed. Self confidence is linked to external things that can fluctuate often, so your confidence can also fluctuate often. It can rise and fall based on mood, comparisons, circumstances, performance, and approval from others. Self worth, on the other hand, is believing you are enough, lovable, and valuable innately and exactly as you are, regardless of how you evaluate your traits and independent of what's happening around you. I do love how she really delineates between these two terms. And like I said, I think it's a great book if it calls to you to dive in deeper. And for me in my life, the journey has really been about both of these concepts, really like, do I deserve the things that I want? Am I worthy of what I'm calling into my life? And also, can I do these things? But I do want to focus today on the confidence piece because, like I said, a lot of people struggle with confidence. And I think this is really regardless of gender. Of course, for those who identify as women, there's a lot more kind of whammies on confidence, especially women that are not part of the dominant culture and have other experiences where society and life tells us that we're not good enough, that we're not smart enough. But confidence struggles are universal. And I think how men or those who identify as male deal with a lack of confidence looks different and shows up differently, but it is also there. And I think at the core of what happens when we lose our confidence is that we forget who we are. We are often running on outdated narratives. And the other thing that happens when we have gone down the spiral of self doubt and are losing our confidence is that we let what happened to us define who we are. Every time I think of confidence downward spiral, I think about a very particular moment in my corporate career when it was abundantly clear that I was working for someone who didn't support me, didn't like me, I could do nothing right type of thing. This boss looked for reasons to cut me down in size. And this led to a downward spiral of me not trusting myself anymore, like to the point where sending a simple email felt like I was going to do something wrong and I was fearful. So, this is just one example of like what a downward spiral of confidence can look like and also how it can get caused. What I want to do is share with you some tips on where to start and what to do if you feel like your confidence has eroded, or maybe you feel like you've never felt confident in your life. Here's some tips for how to get your mojo back. But let me tell you, given the time that we have, I'm only going to be able to scratch the surface. Of course, if you want to dive deep into this work, please feel free to reach out and see how we can work together or see how I can bring this to your team because the work is really powerful. Because I really do believe that when we can step into our power and tap into our inner confidence, so much becomes possible for ourselves and for the folks that we work with and for the folks that we are around. I think it really can unlock a lot, especially it can unlock creative and innovative thinking. But I digress. I digress. So, okay, here's tip number one when it comes to how do you start to tap into your inner confidence. The very first thing I would say is that you have to hold boundaries with anyone in your life that is making you feel bad about yourself. This can include folks from work, even. And while I understand it may be harder to hold boundaries, you absolutely can find ways to reduce your time with them and your interaction with them. Absolutely. That might mean if they're dumping on you in their office, you say, oh, I gotta go, I gotta call, right? Like there's all kinds of tactics for how do you hold boundaries. And by the way, if you know you need to hold some boundaries with people that are bringing you down, please go back and listen to episode number 1, which is Boundaries Will Change Your Life. There is a reason why that was episode number 1. That's how strongly I feel about how boundaries can help you. If you know you need to hold some boundaries with some friends who maybe don't even deserve that title, or maybe they're just not supporting you right now, or maybe there's some jealousy, who knows what's happening. But if you know that there are some people in your life, friends or family, that are making you feel bad about yourself, you must limit your time with them. You have to say no to getting together. You have to say no to the long phone calls. And I want you to see what happens when you choose not to let those folks in your physical space, into your energetic space, and into your mind space, because I think that this is a huge building block to tapping into your inner confidence. Okay, so that was tip number 1. The second thing, and this may sound a little funny to some, it may sound strange, and that's fine. If it doesn't call to you, just ignore it. But my other piece of advice is to bring a physical object, whether it's at your desk, whether you put it on your neck, whatever, where you can divert any negative energy to. Because, like I said, I know it may not be possible to completely let go of or hold boundaries 100% with folks that are maybe bringing you down energetically, that are maybe making you feel bad about yourself. But if it calls to you, this idea of bringing a physical object into your space that will help you direct some negative energy, then trust it and give it a try. So what do I mean by this? It could look like a crystal, like obsidian or tourmaline or even smoky quartz. These are crystals that are known for properties that absorb negative energy. Now, for some of you, you're like, really, Tosca? You're talking about crystals? Look, I'm just throwing it out there because I want you to have all the tools that I have used in my life. Now, maybe it's something else. It could be a jar, for example, that you mentally place negative thoughts into, or that you're like mentally directing. If your manager is giving you a hard time and you're just like, no, I'm just going to let those thoughts go right into that jar. Because sometimes these physical, tangible things can just remind you of the intent to not let it enter your orbit, your mind, or your heart. And that is enough. To me, the intent of that is enough. This just goes part and parcel to how do you hold boundaries? How do you protect your energy? How do you let things bounce off like Teflon? And there's countless ideas for other tactile objects that you can bring into your environment to say, this is where all the negative juju is going. Or you know what? Maybe it's lighting a candle and letting the negative things burn up and dissipate and transform into some other kind of energy form. So there's that, which I do firmly believe in the power of that intent. All right, so let me just give a little pause to this episode. I know I go deep on these topics. Let me just pause to say one of the things that I'm really passionate about is gathering intentionally. As I think you know, I'm all about intent. So whether I'm hosting a live Unlock Lab discussion in person or hosting friends for a milestone event, or for no reason at all, location is really important to me. Like the vibe that I get from this space to me is really a part of that intentional gathering. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about Atrium 82. Atrium 82 is an intimate demi-luxury venue designed for unforgettable moments. Whether you're planning a micro wedding, a chic birthday bash, an elegant bridal shower, or a book signing, Atrium 82 offers the perfect blend of urban elegance and affordability. With stunning Tiffany stained glass windows in a historic brownstone and top-tier service, Atrium 82 isn't just a venue, it's the canvas for your next unforgettable gathering. And even better, the space is owned by one of my very best friends, Nundia Danielle Edwards. To learn more about this gorgeous space or booking a gathering, visit atrium82.com. Mention Tosca and get a special gift when you book. All right, back to regularly scheduled programming. The next tip that I have for you around tapping into your inner confidence is to start a journal. And if you've listened to this podcast, you know that I talk about journaling quite a bit as part of the process for any kind of transformation and healing. And I'm going to give you some journal prompts specifically around confidence. And if you want more prompts, reach out to me. I promise I'll give you more. I have so many journal prompts, and you can reach out to me via the show notes here. I'm not hard to get a hold of, and you're not going to get a bot. You're not going to get an assistant. You're going to get me. I promise. Okay, so you can do this journaling exercise in an exhaustive way, in a like really giving yourself time and space to just write against all of these journaling prompts. You can also add it as a daily activity, as a muscle that you're building to remember who you are. Okay, so here are the journaling questions. Number one, what do I like about who I am? What do I like about who I am? And you can consider the qualities that you possess, the values that you have, how you treat others, all the things, whatever comes up to you about who you are. What it could be your eyelashes, it could be physical things, it could be mental things, it could be talents and abilities, it can be all of the above. And that's why I say you could really do an exhaustive list here and spend some quality time with what do I like about who I am. The second question is, what have I overcome, achieved, or experienced that I am proud of? What have I overcome, achieved, or experienced that I am proud of? Because this is a question that reminds you who you are, and it reminds you of the things that you've done and accomplished, even maybe not under the best of circumstances or the most easy of circumstances, which makes me think of this third journal prompt, which is, what did I think I would never be able to get through that I came on the other side of? What did I think I would never be able to get through that I came on the other side of? And look, this can be small things, in quotes, or it can be the bigger things of life. It could be, I didn't think I was going to get through the flu that I had last year. It could be, I didn't think I was going to get through that really rough patch in my childhood when my parents divorced. It could be, I never thought I'd be able to get through working in that really challenging role with a really challenging boss, right? So it can run the gambit. So starting a journal is a powerful way for you to start to tap into who you are really and that inner confidence that is below everything else that's going on right now. Okay, the next piece of advice that I have might be the most challenging. which is that I want you to find pockets of time of stillness or silence. And what this is really all about is about starting to spend more time with just yourself. So, whether you call it meditation, whether you call it alone time, or you call it self care, the idea with finding stillness or silence or both is to block out the noise of what the world tells you about yourself so that you can come into knowing yourself and knowing who you are from an entirely different place. It's so easy to get caught up in judging ourselves based on what we're seeing in social media, based on what other people are telling us, based on what we see in terms of how other people move and operate and how other people's confidence looks in the world. And coming back to stillness or silence is incredibly powerful to tapping back into yourself and who you are and finding solace in that. I mean, I personally do this on a daily basis. Sometimes it's 2 minutes, sometimes it's 2 hours. And I especially spend even more time in this stillness and in silence when I've lost trust that I'm making the right decisions, or I've lost trust that things are going to be okay, I'm on the right track, or that I'm enough for reaching my goals. I spend even more time coming back to me when I'm in those periods of like a downward spiral on confidence, because I do believe that at the end of the day, confidence is about self trust. It's about believing that you can do what you say you want to do, what you think you can do, what you know you are capable of. Now, the last tip I'll share, like I said, I can't, cover all the things, but I just wanted to give you the ones that felt really potent to me in this moment. The last one is that I want you to do the things that you resist or that scare you. I'll repeat that. I want you to do the things that you resist or that scare you. And I don't mean do all the things. I mean, like, pick a thing on a day and then pick another thing. Maybe it's the next day or 2 days later or a week later, but that you do those things that you resist or that scare you. So maybe that's making a cold call. Maybe that's applying to the thing, whatever that is. Maybe it's a grant, maybe it's a job, maybe it's a residency, maybe it's a program. Maybe it's writing the poem that you've been resistant to take the time to do because it's been a long time. Whatever it is, take a micro action, because just like there is power in stillness, there is a lot of power in taking action and seeing what comes of it. And only you know where the balance might be off in your life, because when we're struggling, when we're not accomplishing what it is we want to accomplish, or we're struggling with confidence, usually something is out of balance. And it's either we're overdoing or we're not taking enough action. And whatever comes up for you in this moment, trust that guidance about where your work really is. And maybe it's in both. Maybe you're like, you know what? I think I need to be more still and sit in more silence. And I also think there's some actions I need to take that I've been avoiding or resisting or putting off. So trust it, trust yourself and what your gut says. And when I say there's power in taking action, it's not necessarily about, the result that comes of it, but actually how you feel in the taking of the action or immediately after taking the action. Maybe it's you feel proud of yourself. Maybe you feel more empowered. It's like trusting in your agency and power is what this is really all about. And it's this idea of getting out of any kind of trap where you feel like there's nothing I can do here, because there's always something you can do that will help you feel like, yes, I am in control of my thoughts, my actions, my beliefs, and I can move in a positive direction with them. You always have that power. And that's the power I want you to tap into with this piece of advice, because when we live in a world where we feel like, oh my gosh, so much is out of our control and so much feels chaotic, coming back to you taking a small action is really, really powerful. And it is the building block of building and tapping into your inner confidence. actually, I want to share with you my deepest truth about what I believe about our inner confidence. And I've said it in keynote talks, and I'll say it again here. What we truly believe about ourselves is what enables our inner confidence to shine through. And I believe that the biggest work around this is actually in removing the obstacles to seeing our truth. I don't think it's about puffing out your chest and faking it till you make it. It's about understanding what has been piled in front of you that prevents you from seeing the beauty in all that you are. What messages, what life experiences have happened that is clouding your understanding of your truth. Because I believe that once you remove the dirt, once you begin to see what you've been conditioned to believe about yourself, you start to see the truth of how amazing you are. And what I've said in my keynote talks is that it's not about working on confidence. I actually don't believe you work on confidence so much as you work on removing the obstacles to letting your inner confidence shine through. But there can be a top down and bottom up approach to this. I'm not saying one size fits all here, not in the least. There are things that we can do to quote unquote work on our confidence. But I think the most powerful work happens when we start from removing the obstacles to seeing ourselves in the clearest, most powerful way. And my life, my personal life my personal and professional life has really mirrored this process because, well, I have had strong confidence in my life, in my abilities and my talents. I also had significant things that got in my way of seeing my fullness. And for those of you who know my story, a big part of this has been around my appearance, being born with a birth defect and looking different from everybody else. And even if there are only certain circumstances where you don't feel confident, this is worthy of exploring. For those of you who are like, I'm confident, I got it, like I'm good, I would bet my life savings that there are also situations in which your confidence does waver, and they may not happen very much. They may happen 1% of the time. But I do know through years of doing this work with clients and audiences and also on myself that even in those 1% of situations where you feel less confident, it is worth looking at that and doing the work on that, because those situations that you tap into and tap into your inner confidence can help you unleash so much more for your life. It's like you've put a whole puzzle together, right? And let's just say it's a 1,000-piece puzzle and there's like 3 pieces that are missing. You see the picture. You can enjoy the picture. But once those last 3 pieces are put in, oh, you can really settle into it. You can really take it all in. And the expression is even more beautiful. That's kind of the metaphor I'm thinking of in this moment when I say that even if the work on your inner confidence is in very particular situations, it is worth investigating because so much potential can be unleashed from there. Inner confidence is really what happens when you validate yourself. Being hooked on external validation will never get you to the deepest bedrock from which your full power can be expressed. So if your confidence is reliant upon external validation, I want you to really consider that there is work to be done here for you to experience the breakthrough and the unlock that you're looking for in your life. I'll give you an example. I did a keynote called Unapologetic Advocacy for a New Tomorrow. It was a new talk that I worked really hard on excavating all the knowledge that I had about influencing change and influencing others. I didn't know how it would be received. I felt good about it, but I also wavered. Like my confidence was definitely on the struggle bus, let's just say. And when I gave this talk, I was shocked, really shocked by the external validation of the power of the content that I shared. And yes, I gave it with confidence and I gave it with passion and I gave it with a believing that it was worthy of the stage and worthy of people hearing because I did believe it would make an impact and help people. But because there was a part of me that still questioned if it was enough, if it was good enough, I had a lot of work to do to fully believe that that talk was enough without needing the survey results and external validation to tell me that. And that's what I mean by the difference between a projected confidence, a truly embedded confidence, and a trust in oneself that is not reliant upon other people and what they have to say. Now, in my last episode with you, I shared my personal journey to updating my personal brand. And in a big way, that update was about showing the external world the new inner confidence that I've gained since launching my business. And like I said earlier, this work can start from the outside in or the inside out. And what I've talked to you about today is really about the approach from the inside out. Like, just to put it plainly, right? I can put on an outfit that makes me feel awesome, that makes me feel powerful, makes me feel confident. And that can influence then me actually feeling confident and feeling powerful, right? That's kind of the outside in example. Alternatively, I can remember who I am. I can remember what I've achieved and accomplished in my life. I can remember the impact that I have, and I can put on my clothes knowing that I'm awesome and that I belong here and that I have a lot to offer. And that outfit is just a representation of that. So, gosh, I feel like, oh, there's so much to say about inner confidence. And I hope that you've taken some tidbits that you can action today if you want. And if you want to learn more about tapping into your inner confidence, by all means, please reach out. I work with individuals, I work with groups, and I do this work on stages. So visit coachtosca.com if you want to explore. And I have a contact page where you can schedule an exploratory call, actually call me on the phone, go figure, or email me. So I would love to talk to you about this if this is on your to-do list for the month or the year. So, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here. It means so much to me. And if you enjoyed this podcast, my request, my ask is that you follow, rate, or review this podcast on whatever platform you're listening on and share it. Share with the people in your orbit that you think about when you think of somebody who might need some support in confidence. It's super powerful when folks receive content that you have curated for them and said, hey, I thought of you, take it or leave it, you know? So I can't tell you how many times I do that with my clients and with my friends and family. It's like, hey, I think this might be helpful. So if you got a little hit during this conversation on somebody that might benefit, please follow through with that. Trust your instinct and share the episode. All right. Thank you so much for coming into the Unlock Lab. I can't wait to see you next time, and ciao for now.